He believed his home-cooked meals were the purest form of love. Arthur Vance, a 76-year-old retired carpenter, cooked every single day. Not because he had to, but because food was his language. Every pinch of salt was a word. Every stir of the spoon was a story. But one Tuesday afternoon, during a routine checkup, his doctor's face grew serious. His blood pressure was dangerously high. Arthur was stunned. "But doctor, I don't eat junk food. I cook everything myself, fresh." The doctor looked at him kindly, but his words hit hard. "Arthur, sometimes the biggest risks aren't in the food we buy, but in the habits we've loved for a lifetime." Could it be that the very thing he used to show care, a pinch of salt for flavor, was silently putting his heart in danger? That's what today's video is all about. Because if you're over 60, how you use your salt shaker could be the difference between a meal that nourishes and a meal that harms. This isn't about making food bland. It's about making it brilliant and safe. Let me tell you more about Arthur. He lived in the house he and his wife had built together. After she passed, the kitchen became his sanctuary. Cooking wasn't just a chore, it was a conversation with her memory. He knew exactly how much salt she liked in her chicken soup. He remembered the way she'd smile when he got the seasoning just right. And so he kept cooking that way for years, unaware that behind the comforting flavor, his own body was quietly struggling. Arthur's daughter, Clara, would often praise his cooking. "Dad, no restaurant can beat your pot roast," she'd say during their Sunday lunches, and he'd beam with pride. His food was a bridge connecting generations, the one thing that brought his grandkids to the table without their phones. He never thought of himself as unhealthy. He wasn't overweight. He didn't smoke. He read the labels on packages to avoid trans fats. He was doing everything he thought was right. Until that doctor's appointment. In the sterile, quiet room, the doctor explained it simply. "Think of it this way, Arthur. Your body needs a little salt, but too much makes your body hold on to water to dilute it. That extra water raises the volume of blood in your vessels, and that raises your blood pressure." He paused. "It's like adding too much air to a tire. Day after day, the pressure builds silently." Clara was with him. She looked confused. "But he uses sea salt, the good kind." The doctor shook his head gently. "That's a common belief, but from your body's perspective, sodium is sodium. Whether it's pink, white, from the sea, or from a mine, too much is still too much." That was the moment everything changed for Arthur. He felt a sense of loss. If salt was the enemy, how would his food taste? How could he cook the meals that held all his best memories? The question hung in the air. What if reducing salt didn't have to mean reducing flavor? What if there was a smarter way? That night, the kitchen felt different. It was no longer a sanctuary, but a place of confusion.
Every familiar spice jar seemed to mock him, especially the salt.
It's easy to believe the salt myths, that sea salt is natural and therefore better, that if you can't taste the salt, it must be low sodium, that only the salt from the shaker matters. These ideas feel right. They feel comforting. But what if I told you that nearly 80% of the salt we eat doesn't come from our salt shaker? It's hidden in bread, in canned soup, in cheese, in salad dressings, even in foods that taste sweet. And the myth about fancy salts? A study from the American Heart Association confirms it. Sea salt and table salt have the same basic nutritional value and the same amount of sodium by weight. The trace minerals in sea salt are so minor they offer no real health advantage. Sodium is sodium. And your heart doesn't care if it came from a pink crystal or a white one. To make matters worse, as we age, our sense of taste can naturally dull. We often need more salt to get the same flavor hit we remember from years ago, leading us to add a little more, and then a little more, without ever realizing the danger is accumulating. And then there's the biggest trap of all. The belief that low sodium food means no flavor food. That you face a choice between a happy tongue and a healthy heart. But that's not what the science of flavor tells us. And it's not what the world's best chefs do. They know a secret. Salt isn't the only way to create flavor. Sometimes it's not even the best way. And once you learn that secret, you're no longer a victim of the salt shaker. You become the master of your kitchen. So what is salt actually doing inside your body? Think of sodium as a tiny magnet for water. When you eat a lot of salt, your body holds on to extra water to keep its balance. This extra water increases the volume of blood flowing through your blood vessels. And more volume means more pressure. It forces your heart to pump harder 24 hours a day to move that thicker, heavier blood around. It's a silent strain, a constant low-level stress on the most important muscle you have. Over time, this relentless pressure can stiffen your arteries, damage your kidneys, and dramatically increase your risk of a heart attack or stroke. But the moment you start using salt wisely, the magic begins. Within weeks of lowering your sodium intake, your body starts to release that excess water. Your blood volume decreases. Your blood pressure begins to gently drop. This isn't just theory. Landmark studies like the DASH dietary approaches to stop hypertension trial have conclusively shown that reducing sodium intake leads to significant, measurable drops in blood pressure, sometimes within just a few weeks. Your heart gets a message. You can relax now. The pressure is off. It's one of the most powerful things you can do for your cardiovascular health. And it doesn't require a prescription. It just requires a little knowledge. Because your body is incredibly resilient. It's listening. to every pinch, every shake, every bite. And when we learn to give it what it needs, flavor without the overload, it thanks us with every steady, calm heartbeat. For decades, we've salted our food without a second thought. But the numbers tell a story our taste buds can't. Health organizations like the American Heart Association recommend a strict limit for adults, especially those over 50 or with high blood pressure. The ideal target? No more than 1,500 milligrams of sodium per day. What does 1,500 milligrams look like? It's just about 2/3 of a single teaspoon for the entire day. That number might shock you because a single bowl of canned soup can have 800 milligrams. 2 slices of bread can have over 300 milligrams. A single serving of frozen dinner can easily exceed 1,000 milligrams. Here's a simple way to think about it. For many people, half a deli sandwich and a cup of canned soup for lunch, you've likely used up your entire sodium budget for the day before you've even thought about dinner. You can hit your daily limit before you even pick up the salt shaker. This isn't about making you feel guilty. It's about making you aware. The goal isn't zero salt. Your body needs a small amount to function. The goal is to get off autopilot, to understand where sodium hides, and to shift from a high salt diet to a high flavor one. You don't need to count every milligram. Just start by focusing on one thing, reading the label. Look for foods labeled low sodium or no salt added. That one simple habit can cut your intake in half without you changing anything else. Because knowledge isn't just power, it's protection.
So how do you break a lifetime habit? Not with willpower alone, but with smart, delicious swaps. Here is your new toolkit for flavor. First, invite the spice rack to the party. Rediscover garlic powder, not garlic salt, onion powder, smoked paprika, black pepper, and chili flakes. Herbs are your best friends. Rosemary for chicken, dill for fish, thyme for vegetables, basil for tomatoes. They add complexity that salt alone can never match. Second, embrace the power of acid. A squeeze of fresh lemon juice or a splash of vinegar at the end of cooking can brighten and lift flavors in the same way salt does. It tricks your brain into perceiving more taste. It's a chef's secret. Third, the salt at the end rule. If you must use salt, don't cook with it. Add a tiny pinch at the table. The salt crystals hit your tongue directly, giving you a bigger flavor impact with a fraction of the sodium. Move the salt shaker from the stove to the dining table. And fourth, the easiest trick of all, rinse your canned goods. Canned beans, vegetables, and tuna are often packed in salty water. A quick 30-second rinse under the tap can wash away up to 40% of the sodium. You don't have to do it all at once. Start with one meal, one swap. Tonight, instead of salting your potatoes, try rosemary and garlic powder. Tomorrow, squeeze lemon over your fish instead of salt. Be patient with yourself. It can take about 2 to 3 weeks for your taste buds to retrain and become more sensitive to subtle flavors again. Stick with it, and you'll be amazed at what you start to taste. Your heart will thank you immediately.
For Arthur, the first week was hard. Food tasted bland, empty. He felt lost in his own kitchen, but he didn't give up. He bought a lemon. He tried smoked paprika. He read an article about how herbs can transform a dish. He started small. He made a chicken soup using onions, carrots, celery, bay leaves, and a whole head of garlic for a rich broth. He added a tiny pinch of salt at the very end. He held his breath as his daughter Clara took the first spoonful. She looked up, her eyes wide. "Dad, this is different. It's cleaner. I can actually taste the chicken." That was his turning point. He realized he hadn't been adding flavor. He had been covering it up with salt. Cooking became an adventure again, a quest for taste beyond the shaker. 3 months later, at his follow-up appointment, the doctor put down his chart and smiled. Arthur's blood pressure was back in the healthy range. "Whatever you're doing, Arthur, it's working." But the real victory happened on a Sunday afternoon. His youngest grandson, who usually pushed vegetables around his plate, took a bite of roasted carrots seasoned with dill and a hint of orange zest. "Grandpa, can I have more?" In that moment, Arthur knew. He hadn't lost his language of love. He had just learned a beautiful new dialect. Your kitchen holds the power to change your health. Not through deprivation, but through discovery. Food is memory. Food is family. Food is love. And the greatest act of love is to nourish, not just for today, but for all the years to come. This isn't about saying goodbye to flavor. It's about saying hello to a world of taste you may have been missing. The zing of lemon, the warmth of paprika, the earthiness of rosemary. If you're over 60, your body has carried you through a lifetime of meals. Now it's time to cook for it with wisdom and care, to honor it. So start today. Don't throw out your salt shaker. Just move it away from the stove. Pick one new herb or spice to try this week. Read one label at the grocery store. Or better yet, turn it into a game. Challenge your family to cook one meal entirely without salt, using only herbs, spices, and citrus. Make it a flavor discovery night. You might be surprised by who enjoys it most. That first small step is the most important one. And if this message resonates with you, please share it. Share it with someone you love to cook for or someone who cooks for you. Because the gift of flavor is wonderful, but the gift of a long, healthy life together is everything.